Prince Harry has revealed that he has always been afraid of speaking in public. His confession is part of a campaign to reduce the stigma attached to HIV and AIDS, in which Prince Harry and various celebrities are revealing secrets to the world via videos on the website feelnoshame.today.
In his video released in the last hour, Prince Harry thanked people for getting involved in the campaign, #FeelNoShame.
Today, World AIDS Day, my secret is, believe it or not, I get incredibly nervous before public speaking, no matter how big the crowd or the audience. And despite the fact that I laugh and joke all the time, I get incredibly nervous, if not anxious actually, before going into rooms full of people when I'm wearing a suit. And now that I've confessed that, I'll probably be even more worried that people are looking at me. But thank you very much for everyone who's taken part, and I must encourage as many people to get involved as possible. Thank you.
That's Prince Harry revealing his secret today. Lawrence Bernstein is a professional speechwriter. Lawrence, thanks for coming on Five Live. Not really the ideal job to be in if you're worried about public speaking, is it?
No, good afternoon, Dan. It's probably not. On the other hand, at least he's in a position where people tend to treat him with some respect, whatever he says, whereas there are some politicians with that problem who are in much deeper water.
He doesn't tend to do too much of the public speaking. William sort of takes most of the burden of the two brothers. Have you seen, from what you have watched and listened to, do you think he is uncomfortable with it?
Yeah, you can. He doesn't do much. If you saw his opening speech at the Invictus Games, which was, in which he was hugely involved, he gave actually a very good opening speech in terms of what he said. But his eye contact was constantly on the page and looking down, and that's often the first sign, if you're looking for somebody who's a bit nervous speaking in public, that they just can't make that eye contact with a large audience.
Yeah, I suffer from it myself, I have to say. I'm absolutely fine when I can't see the whites of people's eyes in the radio studio, but if I'm facing people, I absolutely freak out. But he's, it's not George VI kind of bad, though, is it, Lawrence? I mean, he's not really poor.
It's not, and let's face it, he's in very, very good company. I mean, some of the world's greatest public speakers, JFK shook so terribly that he couldn't hold paper in front of an audience. And this is a guy who is, generally in people's top, list of top 3 public speakers of all time. Abraham Lincoln was petrified of public speaking. And so, he's in good company, and he clearly has it under control. And by the looks of it, he is aware of it, and he obviously prepares very, very hard. So what he says doesn't sound too bad at all.
Sarah's a little secret confession that she struggles with public speaking. I'm sure there's many people as well who dread that, preparing something and then having to present it to the rest of their colleagues, or doing something at school or university, whatever it might be. Lawrence, are the principles of public speaking the same? Do they ever change? And if that's the case, what are they?
That's a big question. I would say they don't change at all. And in fact, in this age of social media and YouTube and everything else, public speaking is becoming even more of an important skill. And, I'm lucky enough to meet a lot of people day to day who we meet, interview, hear their sort of deepest, darkest fears, and then help them work on it. And it always comes back to 2 or 3 principles. The first is relevance. Is thinking about your audience and what they want to hear rather than what you've got to say. And some of those awful speeches one is, and the things that often send the speaker almost paralysed with fear, is when they start listing technical things that they know and they don't try and translate them to the audience. And, I'm sure you've had this in many, many interviews.
Yep.
But it's the old lecture hall thing. The professor who knows too much can turn a bunch of interested students off in minutes. And it's something we call listing. And the minute, whether it's a father or a bride at a wedding or it's a politician on the stump, the minute they start listing, then people tend to fall asleep and start twiddling their BlackBerry. And once you've made the thing relevant, and it's also vaguely appropriate, and so it's you're not giving something that's completely out of order, then you come down to some of the physical characteristics, and that eye contact point is very, very important. It's also vital that you speak in relatively short sentences, that you don't rabbit on and on and on.
I'm writing all of this down. I really am.
Lawrence, before we let you go, who's the best public speaker you've ever heard or seen?
It was Obama.
Wow.
But I think office has worn him down. I think he had a brilliant speechwriter, and when he was coming up through the early stages and coming into power, he had that ability that Martin Luther King had and that JFK had to absolutely transfix an audience. But we've got a few good public speakers of our own at the moment. I mean, I think the Prime Minister is pretty damn good. And William Hague is someone who technically actually does all the right things in all the right places.
Very interesting. Lawrence, good to talk to you. Thank you. Lawrence Bernstein.